Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is the most important superhero movie in our modern environment of superhero movies. It also has one of the best soundtracks for any superhero movie, which was pressed onto vinyl for the first time for its 20th anniversary. So let's take a look. When this pressing was released, I passed on it, mostly because I've listened to this score so much that I didn't feel the need to buy it again on another format. But then my fellow soundtrack enthusiast pal Paolo invited me to be a guest on his podcast, The Song Will Go On, which discusses songs of movie soundtracks, and we decided to tackle Hero by Chad Kroeger. So I left a link of where you can listen to that full podcast, and I might repeat a bit of my discussion from some of that podcast in this video. I'll start with my belief that in our current superhero environment, two films were sort of the genesis for the current success and perhaps just the actual model of the success for those films. I would say X-Men volleyed it up and Spider-Man spiked it down. These films, they approached the subject matter in a serious way. They took the characters and the story seriously, and they tried to fit them in the real world. Granted, Raimi's film has a lot of camp and silliness, but the film really navigates that fun and drama really well. For me personally, it was a very impactful film because of the time in my life. I was a high school student who was kind of nerdy, chasing some girl, and I felt like I was Peter Parker. This score was also on my playlist practically on repeat during that time. And this was a surprisingly enjoyable purchase for me, and I say surprising because, again, I've listened to this so much in the early 2000s, and it's just kind of been a while since I revisited it, and it was just such a treat to return to. This particular pressing, released by Sony Classical, was one of the limited edition silver pressings. It also was available on gold and black vinyl, with the gold version having a little gold foil title. I've seen details online saying that they come individually numbered, but I didn't see number on mine, and so maybe it's part of a less limited run, so I'm not sure about that. But I did think they did miss an opportunity to do some kind of red and blue color variant, but these are still fine. The pressing in general sounded quite good, with my only issue being the first track. It comes with a double-sided poster with both of these great images. I definitely had these posters on my wall in 2002. It also has this old school insert showing other soundtracks that are available, which just kind of brings me back to that early 90s kind of, you know, those VHS and CD inserts for the Columbia House type memberships. For the cover art, this is top-tier execution of using the standard film key art and promotional photography. You know, the movie was blessed by having some incredible imagery to use in their posters and their ads, and I'm glad they used some of that now iconic imagery for this cover instead of sourcing new artwork for this. They could have just used standard CD artwork as is, but there are a lot of subtle design choices that really make this cover a standout piece. It has a great velvety matte finish, with Spider-Man having a high gloss texture on the webbing design of the suit and eyes. I also enjoy the foil finish, just to give the title a little bit of extra pop. The gatefold features stills from the film, again on that rich matte finish, and the colors really pop, and that finish and with that warm coloring, it really reminded me of that vibrant color palette of that Spider-Man film, which really contrasts later superhero movies, which are largely dull and gray looking. They all have that blue tint in the shadows, and just looking back, this film was special. I'm sure a major part of the decision to hire Danny Elfman to score the film came from the incredible success and reception of his score to Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. Stylistically, these films are vastly different, and Elfman expertly balanced the more vibrant visual and emotional aesthetic of Spider-Man while still incorporating some darker elements throughout, particularly for the Green Goblin. Right off the bat, in those first 5 to 10 seconds, it felt like there were some pitch issues in this pressing, but from there on, it was all smooth sailing. This is my favorite Spider-Man score. Even though I hold Michael Giacchino's in very high regard, I just really love this one. When doing a sort of re-listen, I never noticed before some of the similarities with the Transformations track and some of Elfman's score for Mission Impossible, partially because I've been revisiting that score as well. And there's definitely some echoes of Elfman's Planet of the Apes score as well, which would have come out around the same time. I absolutely love the track Costume Montage. It feels so Spider-Man. It's such a great incorporation of the electric guitar. And this track is a good barometer for the overall feel of the film. It's energetic, positive, colorful. A great scene with great music, especially since I love a good preparation montage. I think the music really conveys Peter's sincerity, and I love the love theme. It just has such an innocent sweetness to it, and the music just has such lively percussion that really comes out in this pressing. In the revenge track where Peter is pursuing Uncle Ben's killer, that music felt really dynamic and big. Definitely a highlight of the mix for this album. The instruments just really jumped out at you. In the same way Peter had this, spider-like climbing energy around the whole screen, the music had this kinetic energy that really just propelled the action forward. And I like the contrast between these majestic sweeping themes when he's swinging to that quick percussion and nimble piano strokes when he's climbing around. The inclusion of the electric guitar throughout really brought me back to that 90s Spider-Man cartoon, which I would definitely watch daily after school. Looking back, I'm glad I ended up picking this up because this is a great addition to my collection. It's a nicely packaged album with a score with great re-listenability value, and I just highly recommend tracking one of these down. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like and do consider subscribing. Otherwise, we will see you next time.